Rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for invocation. Mr. Stepstad, welcome. Thank you, Mayor.
Dear God and Heavenly Father, as we enter into the new year, we thank you for the beautiful blessing of the town of Fountain Hills, a place where we enjoy just a portion of your marvelous creation. We know that with every blessing comes stewardship, and it is the duty of our city council to provide such stewardship and oversight. We ask your blessing upon our mayor and council members, for we know that your word states in the book of Romans, "For there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God." So we thank you for this council's commitment to the awesome task of government, and as such humbly ask that you would bless them with wisdom, insight, and discernment for the difficult decisions they will make tonight and throughout the coming year. That in their devoted service, individually and corporately, they would speak justly, they would walk humbly, and judge rightly. And that as they continue to follow your principles of leadership and direction, the residents of Fountain Hills will continue to be blessed. We ask this in the precious name of your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Stepstad, from North Chapel here in Fountain Hills. Nice invocation. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schlum?
Here.
Councilmember Dickey? Here. Vice Mayor Hanson? Here. Councilmember Archambault?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Leger?
Here.
Councilmember Cantino?
Here. All right, thank you. As you could hear, we have Councilmember Brown telling via conference phone here, and he can hear you just fine. Thank you, Councilmember Brown. And now we'll have a review of upcoming community events. I can pull it up here. I want to thank everyone. It was a positive column in the local paper about some of the businesses that have been supported quite strongly over the holidays, and want to thank everyone for supporting their local businesses here in town. As you know, through the support of our local businesses, they're obviously going to help them to succeed in this tough economy. And of course, those sales taxes and the benefits come back to the community. And of course, many of our businesses in town help support our community as well through additional giving and support of their own to our local community. So please continue to support our local businesses. A couple of announcement things coming up. We have on January 16th, we have a community town hall where everybody's invited back here at 1 o'clock for an old-fashioned town hall where you can bring any concerns, ideas before us, and we'll have two council members here. This month this one we will have. Is it Council Mike? Are you here?
Yes.
And Council Member Brown is here. So we rotate the council members. We can have three of us there, so we don't violate open meeting laws, but allows us to discuss anything you have on your minds. So you're invited to there, and there are refreshments, which are popular. And then Sunday, the next day, January 17th, there is another guided hike of the Fountain Hills McDowell Mountain Preserve. Please pre-register and then show up there in the morning for that hike at 8 a.m. And then I want to mention a couple of things, get people in the habit of supporting the local athletics at the high school. Just a couple opportunities here to mention. Friday, January 8th, 5:30 JV and 7 o'clock varsity girls basketball at the high school. Thursday the 14th, 4 o'clock, the varsity girls soccer team plays. Also that day, a little later in the evening, the boys soccer team plays. The varsity soccer plays January 14th. And then Friday, January 15th, 5:30 JV, 7 o'clock varsity boys basketball game. And then Tuesday the 19th, 5:30 JV and 7 o'clock varsity girls basketball game. And I didn't get this on there soon enough to get it printed, but we also have an organization that supports our schools. Is Fountain Hills Unified School District PTO is planning a fun run, and that's this Saturday at 9 o'clock at the amphitheater pad there at the Fountain. Show up between 7 and 8 for the run that starts at 9 a.m. Thank you very much. Next item, even more special than those announcements, is we got some birthdays coming up in this month. Councilmember Dickey and Vice Mayor Hanson have birthdays this month. Happy birthday, ladies.
Ladies' month.
Yes, ladies month. Anything from call to the public?
Yes, Mayor. Judith Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, if you're here, come on forward to the microphone, and you have 3 minutes. Let's see here, for you when you get there. Whenever Bev decides. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council and assembled others. I'm here tonight just to bring to your attention the excessive speed on Fountain Hills Boulevard and the environmental and safety issues that are apparent with the opening of the wonderful new park on Fountain Hills Boulevard. It is fairly impossible to cross the street to get to that park on an average day because of the high speed of the traffic. My husband's given me an interesting statistic, and the statistic is the difference between 60 miles per hour and 30 miles per hour for 1/2 mile is 15 seconds. So that's not a lot of time and wouldn't delay anyone on their way to work, but certainly would enhance the safety of those wishing to cross the street at some point between Shea Boulevard and the first set of stoplights, or the first stop sign. As you know, there are no designated places to cross the street, so you're pretty much limited to either making a dash through the traffic or walking up to the stop signs, crossing the streets, and walking back up to the park. So I think that's an issue that should be addressed. I think it's an issue that affects many of the people whose properties back onto Fountain Hills Boulevard. There's an excess of noise pollution and exhaust created by people accelerating through the wash area, which I'm sure creates excessive dust and additional dust. And I'm wondering if that has been addressed through an environmental study of the wash area, particularly with the park opening, that perhaps it could be considered. Myself, I'm interested in addressing the issue through a community petition, starting with the HOA on Fountain Hills Boulevard. So I could bring you whatever information I can produce that way. So basically, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that there is no monitoring of the speed on Fountain Hills Boulevard currently, and there's a number of ways that it could be monitored. And I'm hoping that the council will look into that.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson, is that correct?
Yes.
I would suggest that you follow up with our town manager, either at the end of the meeting or prior to, at the beginning of next week, to make sure we're in touch with you to make sure we understand your concerns. I think we do, but I want to make sure we're attentive to that, and appreciate you bringing that forward and we can't address the items directly here at Call to the Public because it's not agendized, but thanks for bringing that forward.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Next one. Oh, that's it. Oh, I thought there were two. Thank you very much, Bev. Move on to our consent agenda. Request a motion to approve as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cantino.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Leger.
Aye.
Councilmember Dickey.
Aye.
Mayor Schlum.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Archambault.
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you very much. Remind all council members to speak directly into the microphone, please, so it comes across on the audio recording. Move on to our regular agenda. Number 4 is consideration of appointing 2 citizens to serve on the Public Safety Advisory Commission. There are several applicants that are here, and if you've been appointed, please go ahead and stand up when you hear your name, and we'll welcome you. We'll wait till we affirm your appointment. Under consideration here in item 4, I'd like to make the motion to approve and reappoint Kathy Krogstad and appoint Carol Comito, each to serve a 2-year term beginning November 1, 2009 and ending September 30th, 2011 on the Public Safety Advisory Commission.
Mayor, I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you. Number 5 is consideration of appointing 3 citizens to the Parks and Recreation Commission and 1 Youth Commissioner. Before I move on, is Kathy or Carol here? All right. Welcome. Looking for consideration of appointing 3 citizens to the Parks and Recreation Commission and 1 Youth Commissioner. I move to reappoint Fred Bedell, Natalie Varela, and appoint Richard Taylor, each to serve a 2-year term beginning January 1, 2010 and ending December 31, 2011, and to appoint Amy Sanders to serve a 1-year Youth Commissioner term beginning January 1st, 2010 and ending December 31, 2010. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you. Amy, I saw you here. Mr. Bedell, Natalie, welcome. Thank you very much for continuing to support our community in that respect. Item number 6, consideration of appointing 2 citizens to the Community Center Advisory Commission. I move to reappoint Grace Jacobs and Bill Mulhauser, each to serve 2-year term beginning January 1, 2010 through December 31, 2011. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
All right. Are either of you here? I don't think so. No. Welcome. Is Grace here?
Yes, Grace.
Oh, Grace. Hi, Grace. Thank you very much. Thanks for continuing to serve us. Consideration of appointing 5 citizens to the Senior Center Advisory Commission. I move to reappoint Barbara Peterson Whitehead, Ed Sizak, Larry Malik, and appoint Bill Whitaker, each to serve a 2-year term beginning January 1, 2010 through December 31, 2011. Appoint Bruce Florence to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1, 2010 through December 31, 2010. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
All right. Are either of you here? Any of you here? Thank you for continuing to serve us, and congratulations. Item number 8, consideration of a temporary use permit for Art on the Avenue repeating outdoor retail sales events for 2010, case TU 2009-08. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Mayor Slum. Mayor Slum and members of the council, as announced, this is a request for approval of a temporary use permit for outdoor retail art sales. The applicant in this case is Charlotte McCluskey, and she is in the audience this evening. This is a request for outdoor retail art sales on the Avenue of the Fountains. The zoning ordinance allows for multiple like uses under a single temporary use permit with council approval. Events are within calendar year 2010, and they are to occur every Thursday beginning January 12th and ending April the 27th. Originally, they were scheduled for a Tuesday, but changed to coincide with the possible future farmers market that we hope to get also on the Avenue of the Fountains. All events will run from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. No road closures are necessary. Several recycling containers will be available at the beginning of each of the events and picked up at the end of each of the events. And there will be up to 6 A-frame signs in the downtown area directing folks to the retail sales event. This is a map that shows the location of the art sales, and it's in that rectangular black box there. Staff has received no objection to our posting of the property. There are 6 stipulations that are in the staff report. Very briefly, the first one requires that each of the artists obtain a business license. There's a requirement that sign locations be approved prior to each event, that if necessary, the fire department approve with an inspection, that the Maricopa County Health Department also approve if necessary, and the event be limited to the area shown on the map that I just showed you, and that all signage shall comply with the zoning ordinance. So in summary, staff recommends approval of this temporary use permit and recommends that the council do the same for repeating events temporary use permit 2009-08, subject to the stipulations in the staff report. That concludes the report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you very much, Richard. Any speaker cards on this item?
No, Mayor.
All right, can we get a motion on this item?
Second.
All right, so your motion's to move to approve Resolution 2010-04, correct?
With stipulation.
All right, and discussion on the item.
Mayor,
Yes.
just want to
Councilmember
thank
Dickey.
staff for being responsive and Parks and Rec offering their use of their 6 recycling bins and agreeing to put them out and then collecting them at the end. I appreciate that.
A little enticement, I guess. Thank you. I want to just point this item out as being one of those, it's a great opportunity for us to lift up some of our council goals to have additional small town events in this town, but also probably in greater fashion, this is an idea that came from citizens that really wanted to support local artists, get them in front of the community, and so efforts from our citizenry to do something good for our town and for our business owners, and the support of our staff and town council in supporting that idea. The town is not doing this event. It's really a way of us helping some ideas, good idea from our community members to make it happen, and we're not expecting it to need to be funded from our general fund. So that's appreciated. Councilmember Archambault?
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify, this is for the temporary use permit 2009-08, right, not 2010?
I'm reading at let me look at the actual resolution. Resolution, it says 2010-04, unless I'm looking at the wrong one.
I don't know which one you're looking at.
Oh,
The motion says
let's make,
Mayor Slavin, it should be 2009-08.
okay.
Okay.
All right, who made the initial motion? Henry, was that you? Councilmember Leger? You want to make that new motion, include the temporary use number? TU 2009-08, does that sound good, Andrew? TU,
Okay,
Page 29. Oh, there it is.
I move for consideration of a temporary use permit TU 2009-08 for Art on the Avenue, repeating outdoor retail sales events for 2010, case number TU 2009-08, which has been mentioned.
all right. Second?
Second.
Archambault? All right, yeah, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. All right, any other discussion?
That's it for me.
All right. All
Thank you to
in,
Charlotte.
yes, thank you, Charlotte, oh my goodness. Yes, thank you, Charlotte, and also to Judy Yates for bringing forward and having a lot of discussion with myself and others and staff to help bring some great ideas forward. All right, all in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. Item 9, consideration resolution, there it is, 2010-04, accepting an ARRA, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act grant in the amount of $146,487.73 for energy audits, lighting retrofits, and photovoltaic installations on town-owned buildings. Mr. Reese, Raymond, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight I am happy to bring before you a request to allow the town to accept a pending grant for the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. The town has successfully submitted our request for information that was submitted to the Energy Department, and we have received our contracts back from them. And in those contracts defining 3 key projects that we will be working on. And those projects are the energy audits for approximately 100,000 square feet of town-owned buildings. With those energy audits that will help us provide or get information on where we can direct our resources and efforts when it comes to energy efficiency projects. These energy audits will also help us focus on future activity that we may want to focus on as a town. One of the projects that I'm really excited to work on or to bring before the town, and that is a photovoltaic installation that will be located on 3 of our park buildings. They'll be located on the restroom facilities or the snack facilities that are in the parks. The project, the amount of that installation will be $74,000, but with a healthy rebate incentive from SRP, that will bring it down to, $32,500. That'll bring the project cost down to about $41,000. The system is a 14.5 kilowatt system that will have an annual production rate of 23,446 kilowatts, or an equivalent of $2,500 a year savings for the town. What's neat about this project is not only will it be very visible in the parks, but it will also, each one of the stations will have a display panel located in front of the building, and that display panel will show how the system is generating power, and hopefully the citizens, the schools, folks will use that as an educational tool to come and learn how photovoltaic power is generated. The next project we have is a lighting retrofits to 3 of our larger buildings in the town. Those buildings are the library museum, the community center, and the maintenance building down at our street yard. We're going to be spending the bulk of the money on that. That'll be $90,000. And we'll also be getting a rebate from SRP on that as well. We've worked very closely with a lot of the local businesses and experts to help us through this process, so we can learn more about what it is we're really needing to do. We work closely with SRP. They helped us through the rebate process and to ensure that we would be getting those rebates on the projects. This is a non-matching grant, and we hope to put good use to this money. With that, staff recommends that you adopt Resolution 2010-04, accepting the American Recovery Act Reinvestment Act grant in the amount of $146,487.73 for energy audits, lighting retrofits, photovoltaic installations on town-owned buildings. That my presentation is done, and I can answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Raymond. Anyone from the public on that item?
Yes, Mayor. Hugh Henry.
All right, thank you. Mr. Henry, you want to come forward? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hugh Henry, live on Sycamore. I read the article in the paper yesterday, and I reflected on photovoltaics as an industry. It appears that we have even competition coming to this country from both China and Germany, one to Colorado and the other one here locally. It would appear to me that we're going to have very much of a drop in the product line as far as cost goes in the near future when these people can afford to come here and produce in this country. The thing that caught my eye in the newspaper article was the 17 years for payback. I don't think that's reasonable, and that's why I'm here to suggest tonight that I think we should have a policy in the town with regard to how much money we spend and how long it takes to get it back. And I think 17 years is very unreasonable. In the business world, I worked in divisions of a General Electric company that they had a policy of a 6% net cost reduction per year, and they were able to do it for 40 years. And you buy those products in your own homes. And I know for a fact that this can be done. And I don't think this meets the criteria that we should be spending money like this. And that's my only issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Henry. All right. Anyone else from the public?
No, Mayor.
All right. Let me get back to this item.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dickey.
I make a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion to accept
motion for Resolution 2010-04, accepting ERA grant in the amount of $146,487.73 for energy audits, lighting retrofits, and photovoltaic installations on town-owned buildings.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second?
I'll second that.
I think Councilmember Archambault beat you to it, Councilmember Brown.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, dialogue, discussion on this item, Raymond, related to what was just brought up. The 14,000, I can't remember the actual amount she said, was just for an example what was going to be spent on the building at Golden Eagle Park. That building, you mentioned there's an SRP reduction or a rebate or credit that goes towards that purchase. What does not get credited or applied from SRP, the amount that's going to be paid for, who's paying that, or where's that money coming from?
The $41,500 is coming from the ARA money. There's no out-of-town matching funds to this grant.
Out of
Okay.
pocket?
So
No out-of-pocket for the town.
but the money would be coming from the stimulus, ARA dollars to the town and the town would be spending that money
Yes, Mayor.
on those items, on all items reflected upon this resolution?
Yes, Mayor.
Any ongoing cost or just the savings you mentioned?
Mayor, there may be some maintenance costs to the panels itself. They have to be cleaned on a regular basis, but it's just a matter of just rinsing them off and keeping them clean. They're pretty much maintenance-free. The inverters that we will be installing on those projects will be mounted inside the buildings, so their life expectancy is much greater than if we left it out in the elements. So we haven't gotten hard numbers yet from our suppliers because, of course, this is all going to have to go out to bid, so these are all estimated costs.
You mentioned once the systems are in place, they should save us energy dollars that we're spending today, in
Yes,
addition
Mayor.
to the improvements being made payable by the stimulus dollars, not town revenues
That is correct,
being
Mayor.
spent, or not town expenditures. Councilmember Archambault?
Thank you, Mayor. Raymond, the rebates, they're coming from SRP. If we didn't take the rebates, would SRP just save the money, or would they hand the rebates out to somebody else?
Mayor, Councilman Archambault, yeah, they would just go to somebody else.
And if we didn't accept this grant, would it just, the $146,000, would that just be money saved by the federal government, or stimulus money, or would it be handed out to somebody else?
My recollection in conversation that I've had with the folks at the Energy Department is that money is going to go back into a pool, and then that will possibly be available later on down the line to other people to apply for.
Okay, thank you, Raymond.
Councilmember Dickey?
Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Raymond. Couple things. The part that's going to go to the energy audit, I just wanted to remind everybody from about 3 or so years ago, or more actually, when Mayor Nichols, we talked about this because part of a protection agreement of saving energy, which a bunch of mayors in the, mayors across the United States were signing on kind of in a pledge to reduce their carbon footprints and to save energy. And one of the sticking points our work group had originally when we first gathered together was how do you get past the energy audit part, because it's pretty cumbersome, and while there were some places that were available to help us, it was always going to be an expense. So to get over this this block and this challenge in a way like this is really very rewarding. One of the things that Raymond mentioned that this will do for us is that it's always hard to assess progress. Everybody always wants a number. How much did we save, and in energy, or what did it mean? How many cars is it? Well, this will help us. We need the step one to get to how you can save. So this is, I'm very, very pleased by this particular aspect of it. And of course, changing the bulbs, I think that's proven as a way to really save energy and also saves money on the bulbs because they last a long time. This last part, the PV panels, I wanted to offer a couple of things about that. About 2.5 years ago or so, we were talking about different ways to attract people to the town. And if you look at our goals, where we've got education as part of our goals, we have small town attractions as part of our goals, and obviously energy saving and new environmental goals that we have. To me, this is something that does all three of those things. A couple of years ago, we were in Chama, New Mexico, and it's a tiny little town, but there's kind of a lot of people around there and nice places to eat. And one of the things is it's a railroad town, and so they had like a display, and it showed the inner workings of trains and whatever. And it made me think, well, that would be cool if we had something like that for the fountain. And also, maybe we could have a solar display like that, because a lot of people have no idea how it works. You think the panels are up there and the sun has to come, and it's, so it's kind of interesting that you don't have to have sun all the time for them to work, and that they can actually go back in the grid and you can get credit for these things. So I kind of see this hitting three of the objectives that we have, that sometimes we even spend money for events or for things like this, and in this case we're not spending any money for it, and in fact could be saving energy. So I really appreciate that aspect of it. One of the other things that we had just learned about was a mobile recycling education center. We talked about that the city of Tempe got a grant from ADQ, and it's this kind of a truck, and it goes around. It's really neat, and it's very attractive to kids. Well, of course, all of our recycling grant funding was swept, so we don't have anything right now. But if I was reading correctly, that maybe that this would be something that might be in fiscal year 11, and we all can keep. Were you saying it would be, or would it be maybe getting installed after July?
Yes, all of, Mayor, Council Member Dickey, all of the installations will be after July 2010. We have 18 months to earmark those monies, specifically for the projects, and then we have 3 years to complete those projects.
Complete it.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that by then there may be a way to combine it and actually have an event where we could have this mobile education center, because that's kind of where I see this going. And again, it's not costing us any money. It is going to save energy. The 17 years is an approximation. I mean, if you put PV on your house, and this mayor, you can get that back in 10 years and less, and water heaters in 2. So, but I do agree with Mr. Henry, though, that things are probably going to get better as the years go by, and we get better technology. But I think it's a great project, and I'm all for it.
Thank you. Any other comments on the item before us? A couple more things, Raymond, on, I think I read this is a non-matching grant, so no, we don't need to match a portion of or any of the dollars.
Yes, that is true, Mayor.
And as other communities are looking at the grant monies closely, and from what I understand, some of the grants that have been forwarded through have some what you might call strings attached. Does this grant happen to have strings attached that go beyond the 3 years of our receiving the monies?
Mayor, council members, as much conversation as I have had with the Energy Department, I can't see any strings that are attached to this.
Okay. I didn't read any into it, but I wanted to ask, thank you. And as far as the cost and Mr. Henry's comments, I think from when we put on our system on our home to just a couple of months ago, I'm hearing that costs are almost half of what they were back then. So I know costs continue to come down, and let's hope they continue to come down because people are building manufacturing plants here in Arizona and bringing more jobs here to Arizona. But so obviously we're looking at cost savings, even if the money coming to us is not necessarily from our citizens directly, but rather through our dollars, correct?
Correct.
All right. Any other comments on this? All right. We've got a motion and a second. We have discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Raymond. Item 10, consideration of approving, not renewing, the Town of Fountain Hills Community Center's Class 5 liquor license at the time of expiration, January 30th, 2010. Welcome, Samantha.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I don't have any sort of presentation this evening, but I can certainly answer any questions you might have. I think I included in the action form, I hope I did, all of the questions that were asked at the last meeting.
Good. And if I recall, thank you, Samantha, I will recall that perhaps let Councilmember Hanson bring up what she had wanted to have us look into and see if that was what was found out was satisfactory, if you have any additional concerns or...
I appreciate all the information that Sam provided. It demonstrates that there is some revenue from having that license. I was, as reading through the report, I've been playing telephone tag with the person that I had spoken to back in December at the liquor department, and that was Connie Wagner. She's the assistant director of licensing. So I explained to her, I said, I need some clarification, and we just spoke today. And she reiterated that it is possible to have two events at one place. And she directed me to, actually, I made some quick copies here. It's the rule that was in your staff report, but there was another provision. Here, you're welcome. As it says,
Thank you.
during the special event, the licensed location is split into an area in which the regular licensee exclusively dispenses and is responsible. Oh, no. Here's another one. For all spirituous liquor sales, and another separate area in which the nonprofit group exclusively dispenses and is responsible for all spirituous liquor sales. And she said that's the provision that allows a special event liquor license to take place simultaneously with our Class 5 license. So then I brought up to her, I said, well, what about this issue where, you know, about having to go downtown every time? She said, what we do is, and she said, we've done this for years, is to ask the, like I'll say, the community center would write a letter to the applicant of the special event request. And then that letter saying we are suspending our license for, you know, whether it be Ballroom 2, you know, and then the date of the event and the times. And then that gets submitted with their special event liquor license request.
Okay.
And that all gets submitted to the state. So that's, you know, and she probably said, you know, I told you this before, and I said, well, can you just tell me again?
Right. I don't know why we're getting two different answers on that.
I know, because I told her, I said, you know, staff spoke to someone in your office, but she was pretty adamant that this is the way we do it.
Okay.
So, you know, I thanked her, and so I just wanted to get that information and share that, because if we could, you know, the whole new policy was to make it better for our nonprofits, which it definitely did. But this almost would look like we could have the best of both worlds and still maybe have an opportunity to make at least a little bit of revenue out of our Class 5 and still be able to have the nonprofits have their special event liquor permits.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to ask Andrew if he has any comments based on what he heard here. Has anything additional legally?
Well, Mr. Mayor, actually the question I had was whether or not in any of the communications, whether from Samantha or the Vice Mayor, with the Liquor Board, if that particular regulation, we had looked at that one before, it in our minds pertained to a licensed retail location, and we were wondering if the Assistant Director or anybody else at the Liquor Board was addressing our municipal license in the same way as a retail location. Is that what you said?
Yes, addressing, because she knew for sure. I made sure she knew we have a Class 5.
Okay, because and that was the thing that always concerned us, is that this provision was tucked under a licensed retail location, and we're certainly not that.
Okay, so it sounds like we could have, to quote our Vice Mayor, the best of both worlds. Now, does that best of both worlds, the revenues, are they enough, or does it benefit us enough to continue having that? Well, maybe we should go on to a motion and then have discussion that sound best? We can have a discussion if we have a motion and a second. So we've had our staff report and our update from our council member. Do we have a motion on this item? I can't find the right wording for it.
Mayor,
Yes.
make a motion that, for consideration of not renewing the community center's Class 5 liquor license at the time of expiration January 30th, 2010.
All right. First, I have a second.
Second?
All right, thanks. All right, so we've got more information on this. From what you've heard, all things being true, from Councilmember Hanson, she's picked up here this afternoon. Would that cause you to want to have us reconsider this, or would you change your staff suggestion in removing it? My thought is there are some administrative things to do, when you want to
Right.
remove it or take it off.
Right.
Are the revenues enough there to support the additional work, or are there additional benefits?
Well, we did make some revenues. I think it was about $12,000 last year. So obviously, yes, you're making some money on it. I hadn't really considered doing both because I've always been under the impression that we couldn't. But
if we
if
could-
that's the way you want to do it, certainly we'll continue on that way. There would be, obviously, like I said in the report, have to be some monies added back into the budget for the remainder of the year because we did not budget anything for staffing, supplies, things like that, licensing.
Okay. Councilmember Archambault?
Thank you, Mayor. Samantha, what would we, obviously, we've been letting the supplies go down. We've been gearing towards that. You've had two commissions tell us to get rid of the license. It would seem to me that if we were looking for revenue, we could go revert back the other way, and we were making more revenue the other way than if we just tried to do this hit-miss. I'm curious as to what you think we'd have to find for revenue to restock and personnel if we needed any.
I'd have to go back and really, do a complete inventory of the liquor and figure out what supplies we needed. We do still have alcohol, obviously, back in the community center, but as far as supplies like napkins, cups, things like that, we'd have to get a couple of our managers liquor certified. That's not a lot of money. You'd have to put money back in for staffing, for bartender staff to obviously come in and staff the events. So I don't have a hard dollar figure. I can certainly
So if
look
we
into
could
that for
assume
you.
it's either going to be profitable or break even, are there additional benefits, or does this make people who wish to have liquor at an event in our community center more available?
Well, I think by taking the liquor license away, it presents more of an opportunity for anybody that's coming in there to control the cost of their event. Obviously, they're going to have more opportunity to hire bartending staff, to purchase their own product, to for the nonprofits that come in, charge any price that they would like to for the alcohol. So it gives a benefit to the public that comes in and rents the facility. They have more control over how they're going to operate their event and the money that they're going to spend.
And that's certainly the benefit of the change that's already been made.
Right.
If we were to maintain our license, would there be benefits for other organizations to utilize our license, should they desire or need?
Only the nonprofits, because they can apply for that special event liquor license. If it was somebody that was not a certified 501, there is no benefit because they're going to have to go back to using our alcohol, and they're going to have to pay our prices and, our fees.
Okay, Councilmember Archambault?
So if I understand you right, so thank you, Mayor. Samantha, if only the nonprofits could get the liquor license, the weddings, the citizens that rent any of the units there at Town Hall or at the community center would have to use the town's license.
Right.
Is that correct? I thought the purpose was to take the liquor license away so that we would open up, make it more affordable for citizens and groups, not just nonprofits, to use the
Right,
Town Hall.
right, and that is the point.
It's
That
not the
is the point.
license, it's the bartender that has to be, what is the term in order for these?
They have to be liquor certified to, to serve the alcohol, and it is to benefit the residents. So it's not just the 501s; it's to benefit everybody that rents the facility because, again, they will have control over those costs.
So we would be forcing anybody else that wasn't a 501c3 to use the town
Right.
license. They couldn't
Correct.
come in on their own.
Mhm.
That would defeat the purpose that the commissions were talking about.
Right.
wouldn't it? Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Hanson.
But I think we don't have the information to be able to compare what a private citizen, say, if they had to go out and get the certified bartenders that carry their license. I think they could only use those if they're giving it away for like a wedding or for a party of some sort.
Right.
And we don't know what would cost more, people going through our bar or having to get the outside source and coming in. We don't know what.
Well, I know for a
comparison would
fact
be.
it would cost more if they went through us because obviously we mark up. So if you go out to Costco and buy a case of wine, you're going to be paying that cost, whereas we purchase it from the vendor and then we...
But that's only for the nonprofits. We're talking about the not for,
A wedding.
we're talking about the
Right.
on the
I think a wedding,
nonprofits.
that's easy to work.
Yeah.
Right.
When they, in order to serve the alcohol, they have to go out and get an outside service that can come in and do it. So they're not actually buying the alcohol. The service is providing the alcohol.
Either way, they can actually buy the alcohol and just have a certified bartender serve it, or they can actually hire a service to bring in everything for them. But they can purchase the alcohol, and as long as it's a certified bartender serving it, they can go that way.
Councilmember Archambault.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we do know that it costs more because that's the whole reason we went this route. The nonprofits were complaining that we were charging too much or they were paying too much. So that was the whole reason we went this route and to get it more affordable so that we can rent more of the community center out.
Right.
Isn't that right? Thank you.
Right.
Yes, Councilmember Leger.
It's kind of turning into a circular argument, but I had the thought listening to my peers here that if we can lower the overall cost and increase the number of events, then we can increase our profit. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilmember Contino.
Can you tell me how much time was involved for someone to work this, like your staff?
Right. Well, there's a lot that's involved in that. There's the inventorying of the alcohol on a regular basis. There's the ordering of the alcohol, and we have several different vendors that we would purchase the supplies from. There's scheduling of the bartenders. There's the setup, the takedown, and then the time spent actually working the event.
Okay, now I understand that Mr. Melendez did a lot of that. So he was one of your bartenders, and he said he was doing all of that, so
Right.
the staff didn't have to do any work,
Well,
only to receive
he
the
did
liquor.
some of the work, but he didn't do all of the work.
No, I know that, but
Right.
I'm saying for the liquor, Reno went out and got it and signed for it and brought it in and did that. But what we're looking at is we don't have to, the way I see it, we don't have to hire a complete staff again. You
Okay.
already have bartenders
Right.
that are certified. So you really don't have any cost involved in any of that stuff. And as far as all your other people, that could be cut down. So I think that what we're looking at is it feasible or not? And I feel like it is still feasible to have a dual license up there. Thank you.
It sounds like it certainly is feasible, and the additional option that's been brought before us tonight, obviously, we're just being introduced to it, so we're talking about it here on the fly. And my question, there's, the additional work to maintain the license, to pay for the license, and to do the nominal or intensive whatever amount of work there is to maintain it, notify the state to take down the license in Ballroom B or Ballroom C the next day, those types of things. Is that give us, and what is the benefit to maintaining the license? Does it make it more available for the community to have the events they want to have? I'm not sure if it's fair based on getting this information tonight to you to actually give us a new staff recommendation
Right.
based on this, but if you are comfortable, I'd like to hear that.
Mayor?
Councilmember Dickey?
Thank you. I have to get back to what Councilman Archambault was saying. If it was more beneficial for the nonprofit groups for us to do this, why isn't it more beneficial for the, private parties? I still haven't figured out the difference between that. I mean, we obviously did this because they said it was becoming cost prohibitive for them. So why do we want it to be cost prohibitive for community members to use it for weddings and parties?
I can't answer that. Do you follow the question? Are there benefits to, you know, what?
Yes, I do feel that there are benefits letting the liquor license go because, again, you're opening up that option for everybody, not just the nonprofits, to control the cost of their event.
No, Mayor, just to make sure that you're clear, what I was asking is exactly that. So why do we not want to extend whatever this benefit is to private people?
And it sounds like we could, from what Councilmember Hanson said, or Vice Mayor said, that we could take it down, you know, administratively from time to time based on, or is that only with
No, because
nonprofits?
they can only, isn't it only the
Right,
nonprofits?
only the
that go get the
nonprofits.
license?
Let me ask.
So, you know, so I'm not sure why we're
Okay.
doing that.
Council, or Vice Mayor, would you help me understand?
I think this almost comes down to a business decision. And when the community center opened, the business decision was made to have our own Class 5 license to bring in some revenue to the building. And so now it's like, okay, what is the percentage of use of the building? If we looked at that, how much is used in nonprofits? That problem's been taken care of. They're covered with the special event liquor license. So they're all happy. Then we look at our citizens that might have a birthday party or an anniversary party. Then we look at organizations like the Chamber, who said they would have had alcohol at their business showcase had they been able to do it through, I'm echoing.
Councilmember Brown, if you can mute your phone, that might help us here. We're having a little echo if you know how to do that on your phone. Thank you. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
That's okay, if they could have used the town's liquor license. Then there is the other scenario, if we are trying to attract people from outside of the community to come in and use our facility in an attempt to enhance our revenues for the facility, then it's a benefit to have our own license. So it really does boil down to a business decision. And I think you're right. I mean, you know, as we've gotten this information, I mean, I agree with Sam. I was very confused when I read the staff report. And so I think they're confused at the liquor department, maybe.
Well, maybe if you could answer or one of either Sam or Vice Mayor, if you have an answer for this. Say there's a wedding or the Chamber wants to have an event at the community center or some nonprofit wants to have an event there, and they would like to utilize having their own bartender and not utilize the town license. What's the benefit to
The nonprofits can do that, getting a special event liquor permit.
All right, but otherwise, we lose if we get rid of our Class 5 liquor license. What would those organizations or those events do for alcohol?
If we got rid of the license, anybody other than a nonprofit organization could, is that what the question is? Okay. They could either bring in their own alcohol and have a certified bartender serve it, or they could hire one of these services, such as a Pour Masters is one of them, or Hey Bartender that's come in, and have them provide everything for them from the alcohol, the cups, liquor, bartender, everything would be included in that.
Okay.
If we keep the license, only the nonprofits would be able to bring in their own alcohol. Everybody else would have to purchase through us.
Okay, Mayor. Councilmember Leger?
Yeah, my intent was to kind of stand on the sidelines on this discussion, and I keep hearing the notion of the business decision, and I made a comment earlier, and perhaps it should have been a question. If we can lower the cost to all of our customers, it increases the probability that we'll increase the number of events, which will then increase our revenue. Is that a possibility?
Sure. I mean, we can not mark it up as much.
Exactly.
But there are still some costs.
So if we're looking at it as a business decision, if we can do a greater volume of business in the long run, we'll probably net out with a greater profit than if the opposite is true. So I'm not sure where I stand on this whole thing, but in terms of a business decision, in my business model, if you lower your costs, you usually increase your business. And nowadays, people are looking to cut costs, and yes, people do run weddings, and you see them down in Costco buying alcohol and paper cups and cakes and dessert and so forth and so on. So I think the business decision would probably see a greater profit if we lowered our costs because we increased the frequency of our events, and it's just the math.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilman Leger, Councilmember Archambault.
Yeah, thank you. Well, currently, if we were to go down the road that's been discussed, the average event there would have to use the town's liquor license if we kept it.
Right.
Instead of enjoying the cost savings that the nonprofits would get.
Right.
By using their own bartenders and bringing in their own liquor. So we don't have an equalization going on here. If we're going to make it better for one group, you have to make it better for the other group. So I think I understand where the commissioners were coming from. They were basically saying, well, just get rid of the license, and then everybody can generate their own savings and their own costs.
Right.
But if you go down the business decision, then wouldn't we be better off to just make everybody use the town's license and just reduce our costs?
I think that's kind of how we were looking at it, and we were
We
looking
either
at
have
it
to
more.
make a decision one way or the other, don't we?
Right. And we were thinking it less of as a business, but more of how can we serve the public best? How can we best benefit everybody, the public, the nonprofits, everybody?
And to get back to what the commissions were doing, and when we had that joint meeting with the commission, that we were talking about that liquor license, and the idea was if you got rid of the liquor license, you'd make the community center a little more affordable, and you'd get more bookings, which then plays into the business. You generate more revenue.
Thank you, Councilmember Archambault. I think what I heard Councilmember or Vice Mayor bring up was that we could have both. We could remove our license to allow other organizations to do that very thing, hire their bartender, bring in their alcohol. Is that what you were telling me? Or telling us, Vice Mayor?
That's only a nonprofit.
That's only nonprofit.
That's only nonprofit.
Okay, so, all right. Thank you.
So then you're not removing, you're not helping the people that are having a wedding or...
So Vice Mayor, the benefit would be to, when you might say business decision, we have the opportunity by having our liquor license to potentially make more revenue when people want to use our license by selling them our alcohol.
And I think at this point, we can really only speculate.
Sure.
I mean, Henry's right. If we're reducing one cost, we still have our other costs. We still, we're not reducing our rental fees or anything like that. And to some people, that might be a benefit, but they will be having to do an additional portion of their event. Some organizations might look at it, we don't want to have to worry about that. We want to just be able to go to the community center and have it be a one-stop shop thing where we can make all our arrangements and they'll take care of it. So there's some organizations or companies may prefer that rather than having to go out and make their own arrangements. So, there's different benefits for different groups, and then we can't plug everybody into the same cubbyhole.
Nope, I think I'm clear on it now, what the benefits are and who fits where and what this new language would help us provide. So thank you. Samantha, Ms. Kaufman, any, based on what you've heard tonight, like I said, maybe unfair, but do you have a different recommendation?
I would not change my recommendation at this point, no.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion from council? All right, so we have before us a motion. I know it's a double negative or a negative positive, I don't know. Consideration of not renewing the community center Class 5 liquor license at the time of expiration, January 30th, 2010. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right.
Mayor 5-2.
Thank you very much. And thanks for that additional information. That's be nice. I wish your phone call, the person you inquired into, would have gotten back a little more quickly to you. Next, item 11, consideration resolution 2009-43, adopting the Town of Fountain Hills General Plan 2010 and calling a special election to be held on May 18th, 2010 for voter ratification of the new general plan as required by state law. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Mayor Schlum, members of the Town Council. This item was continued from the meeting of December the 17th to allow additional time for review of the plan and proposed amendments. If the General Plan 2010 is approved this evening, it will be scheduled for a vote of the people on May the 18th. State law requires voter ratification of a community's general plan. With regard to this evening's vote, state law also requires a 2/3 vote or 5 affirmative votes in order for the plan to be approved. I'd like to summarize the process that was used to create and review the general plan. There were 8 meetings of a Planning and Zoning Commission subcommittee that was formed to review the plan. The revised plan was transmitted for review by 36 different reviewers on September the 9th. Many of those reviewers were required to look at the plan per state law. Also, at about that same time, the town put the general plan on the website. We held an public open house on September the 28th. There have been 2 work-study meetings, one for the Planning and Zoning Commission, one for the Town Council. At the end of November, the first of 2 public hearings in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission was held. The second one was held in early December, and this Town Council held their public hearing on December the 17th. I'd also like to summarize some of the planned feedback that we received. In response to putting the plan on the website, we received comments from 5 citizens. We received input from the Sanitary District and the Chaparral City Water Company, and that input has been incorporated into the general plan. We received supportive comments from the Maricopa Association of Governments. We received comments from the chairman of SPAC, 7 comments, and which resulted in 5 recommended plan changes. Fountain Hills Investment Company recommended that we not use the term Elman and instead refer to the property as owned by the Fountain Hills Investment Company or the former state trust land, and staff has no objection to that. Councilmember Dickey had 9 comments, which resulted in 5 recommended plan changes. Public Works Director recommended that the town reconsider designation of Grande as a truck route. And Citizen George Williams has had input into the review of the general plan. Specifically, he has provided emails dated December the 7th, December 17th, and January the 5th. The most recent email is a copy of the general plan with Mr. Williams' comments. I counted a total of 62 places in the plan where he offers a comment or a suggested change. In an accompanying email to that a review, he asks that serious consideration be given to his ideas, especially safe routes to school and roundabouts. Most of his other comments are dealt with in the plan, things that are not prohibited by the plan or would in fact be considered by other projects that are supported by the plan, such as Master Parks and Trails Plan and a Master Circulation Plan. There are some other comments that are that we would consider to be inconsistent with existing town policy, such as a prohibition on widening Fountain Hills Boulevard, prohibition on widening Shea Boulevard, and no more traffic lights. This is the general land use plan for the new proposed 2010 general plan. It is very similar to the land use plan that is in the existing 2002 plan. The reason for that being that Fountain Hills is largely built out, and even more so is almost all of the property has been platted. Some of the changes you will note, their crosshatched areas are locations of proposed area-specific plans, and you will recall that on December the 17th you approved the area-specific plan for the downtown area. The staff recommendation on the new general plan is that the Council approve Resolution 2009-43 with changes as shown on the attachment to the staff report, which is entitled Amendments to the General Plan 2010, and that is dated revised December the 24th, 2009. That, in essence, is the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission with 2 changes. The 13th item on that list, we have deleted the phrase, including trails that can be built in washes. The reason that was removed was to remove a conflict with town code. I think we discussed this at the last public meeting. And then finally, we have added comment 14, circulation element 1.13. The town will continue to take advantage of opportunities that are available through the Safe Routes to School program, and that was an idea put forward by Mr. George Williams. Staff supports that. Safe Routes to School is a very good program, and we already use it to get grants. So that concludes my report. Mayor Schlum, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Anyone from the public on this item?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Council, may I get a motion?
Yeah, Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 2009-43 with the changes listed in the document entitled Amendments to the General Plan 2010, dated revised December 24th, 2009.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff or discussion on the item?
I have a comment.
Councilmember Dickey?
Mayor, thank you, Richard, and everybody involved. I wanted to tell you that I appreciate that you included my comments. While I might be getting ridiculed for my leaf blower aversion, I wanted to bring up that it is in fact state law, and that just today EPA released new ozone standards which are almost going to make the entire state in violation. It's a very big change, and one of the things that I like about it, in that it will cause discussion, is that in Fountain Hills we've always had this high ozone rating, but clearly we weren't the cause of it. And so it's been kind of a challenge to know how to address that, because we weren't causing it necessarily, and now this is going to put on a bigger scale that same exact challenge, because if 9 of the 15 counties in Arizona are in violation of these proposed new ozone standards, and clearly 6 of them, probably at least, are going to be having those readings due to transported ozone, if you will, from even other states, it will cause the dialogue to become more of something that we could actually maybe use in here. So again, I really appreciate that you put that in there, because it acknowledges some of the changes that we're actually seeing, and this is a 10-year document, so thank you.
Yep. Councilmember Leger?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Richard, to you and your staff. I think your process was comprehensive as identified in your PowerPoint presentation. We did extend this discussion from our previous meeting to allow additional input. I think you've been very responsive to that input, and have incorporated some of the most recent recommendations. Particularly, you referenced Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams has corresponded with us quite frequently. He's extremely passionate about his issues, which I appreciate, and the town of Fountain Hills. And I think that you've addressed some of what he's requested, and I would agree, after looking at those comments and the proposed plan, that I really don't think that there's anything that would preclude us from addressing other recommendations he's made, with the exception of things that may be directly in conflict with our code. So kudos to you and your staff. It's been a long process, and I just wanted to thank you publicly.
Councilman Blair Shambo?
Thank you, Mayor. Richard, when did you guys start to endeavor? I'm trying to remember how far back we started on this general plan. So I don't think the public realizes how long it takes to do this.
Mayor Schlum, Councilmember Larchambeau, we began a project that was going to be initially a technical review back in the fall of 2007, and because of the master plan, or the amendment to the general plan for the Elman former state trust land project, because of the lawsuit that followed on the heels of that approval, things got delayed. By the time we got back into this, so much time had passed, we felt it would be appropriate to convert this to the major plan amendment. Because if we didn't do that, we'd have to create a whole new plan amendment process for the big plan amendment. We felt that would not be fiscally responsible given the current situation.
Well, your staff certainly shined through on this one. I commend you guys. Again, like the rest of the council, I think we appreciate the fact that you guys listen, you take comments, even in the 11th hour, and turn it into something that's positive. So I think we've got a really good plan here, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And if you went into a bit of a detail on obviously walked us through the process and some of the reasoning why we're considering this item now, when we could still wait another year or two. But you explained to me earlier about how by incorporating all these things that we've had to do anyways, we're able to fold it all into this general plan and bring it before the voters, and it seems like a pretty significant cost savings in general if we, by doing all these things together. So I appreciate you making us aware of that and encouraging us to consider it for ballot in this May. Anything more you wanted to add to that?
No, Mayor Slum, I think you encapsulated the essence of that,
Okay.
the
Thanks.
discussion.
Mr. McGuire.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick clarification. The December 24th, 2009 version includes the changes that were discussed this evening? Okay. I want to make sure we got all those.
Good, appreciate it. All right, any other discussion on this item? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you very much. Thanks again, Richard and staff and public for all the input, and Mr. Williams in particular, a lot of time he spent getting input into town staff. Appreciate it. All right, item 12, council discussion direction to the town manager. Anything? Nothing? Item 13, summary of council request and report on recent activity by town manager. Anything to report to us tonight other than following up with Ms. Johnson on Fountain Hills Boulevard from what was brought up
Absolutely.
today? Anything else, Brian?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. I wanted to, as I didn't fail to mention at the beginning, Happy New Year to everybody out there in Fountain Hills. It is going to be a terrific year this year in our community. Our town council continues to work hard to work through a tough economic climate, but let's continue to support one another, and we're going to have a great year here in 2010. And with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Nobody wants to leave. All right, motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, Dennis.
Good night.